So word's getting out that the price of video games is going up. 2K stomped up a whole bunch of dust when they announced that the next-gen SKU of NBA 2K21 for the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 will carry a $10 premium over the current-gen version, retailing for a full $69.99. The headlines alone remind me of an era when I worked gaming at retail and we got in stacks and stacks and stacks of new full-priced games that we needed to throw in impact cases, bind in spider wraps, and clear a ton of shelf space for. In the end, we wound up sending a whole bunch of them back anyway. It got even worse when we went through the plastic instrument phase of the late aughts. Things are very different these days. Big publishers are still shipping physical games to stores, but now they're doing a lot of this stuff digitally. Even though the Xbox, PlayStation, Apple, Google, Steam, and Epic digital stores are still taking their cut, it's still a better take than Walmart, Best Buy, or GameStop ever were or ever could be. There's kind of this cosmic game of chicken going on when it comes to next-gen pricing stuff right now, and while 2K may be an outlier, I have little doubt that $69.99 is a price point we'll see across the board for new AAA releases soon enough. It may be hard to believe, but it's been 15 years since the last across-the-board price jump to a $59.99 MSRP way back with the debut of the Xbox 360. You may not remember it, but Microsoft was actually holding on to $49.99 price tags for its launch titles Perfect Dark Zero, Cameo, and Project Gotham Racing 3, a price point we'd reached a decade before that with PC and PlayStation games. Of course, Microsoft realized they were leaving money on the table, and their first-party titles rang out for $60 soon after. Now, I'm getting to the age where I rarely buy games on day one anymore. I didn't even buy my Xbox One at launch when I was there for Microsoft's first two consoles. I'm not chasing the Joneses anymore, and I have no one to impress by paying full price to own games like Quantum Redshift, Dead to Rights, and Blinx the Time Sweeper the day they come out. For reasons I'm about to get into, $69.99 for new games is both a lot, but kinda isn't. I think it's too high, so let's look at the pros and cons of raising game prices for big releases. Our first pro is a simple one: inflation. Even with a price increase to $69.99, games will still be cheaper than $59.99 was 15 years ago, or $49.99 was 25 years ago. Yes, Nintendo games carried a $10 to $20 premium in the 90s, but that's not because the games themselves were expensive to make, it's because every single game copy that shipped to retail was a hardware cartridge. In the NES and Super NES eras, they would even include co-processors like the Super FX chip to do stuff like 3D or special effects. The CD-ROM really helped bring the price down on games. So yes, $69.99 for a bunch of zeros and ones being broadcast through the air as high-frequency radio waves seems pretty reasonable. Our second pro is a little more complex: price elasticity. Basically, you're going to buy the game no matter what it costs. When your product has price elasticity, that means that demand for it is more likely to change if the price changes. If your product has an inelastic price, people are going to buy it in similar quantities no matter what the cost. For example, the price of gas is inelastic. You've got to get to work, so you're going to pay the price no matter what. American healthcare has inelastic prices. You're not suddenly going to visit the hospital because x-rays got cheap. Quite the opposite, you're going to pay whatever they charge you for anything they do to help or not help you, which is why the American healthcare system is so screwed up. Anyway, games have much higher price elasticity. If a console launches at $600, you might bite your tongue before you insert your debit card, if you even make it that far. But if the price is $300, you'll probably buy it. Steam sales are a prime example of this. Thousands of games go on sale and quantities sold skyrocket for a brief window and then return to normal when it's all over. You bought all those games when you'd previously had no intention to and had no demand for it. Dropping the price summoned incredible demand that didn't exist before. So where's an exception? Well, new games. If you're buying a PlayStation 5 and you want to play a new shiny NBA game on it, what are you going to do? NBA 2K21 is your only option, and you're not going to skip out because of an extra $10. In fact, because demand is so inelastic for it, unless the game is a dumpster fire and reviews terribly, you're inclined to pay even more for the $99.99 Mamba Forever Edition, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And guess what? You'll pay $70 for a next-gen Madden. You'll pay $70 for a next-gen Call of Duty. And you will definitely pay $70 for Grand Theft Auto 5. Again. So all that aside, let's look at the cons. The first is value. Even if you exclude the DLC, the battle passes, and microtransactions and focus on the initial, out-of-the-box $69.99 value, let's face it, games aren't really going to change a whole lot from here on out. Is ultra-fast storage and next-gen consoles going to be a game changer? Absolutely. But how many games, especially out of the gate, are going to take advantage of it in a way that fundamentally changes or innovates gameplay? Is eliminating load times going to be worth the extra $10? Arguably. Maybe? Sports games like NBA 2K21 or Madden or even Forza Motorsport often have a few less than stellar first new additions on new hardware because they're rebuilding the series from scratch for the new hardware. These initial next-gen sports games usually strip out a bunch of gameplay that they'd built over the previous generation and then gradually add it back in. A game like NBA 2K21 may in fact be a lesser value on the Xbox Series X than the Xbox One. Even if it does look shinier and smoother, has no load times, and includes more intelligent AI. It's a tale as old as time. The second con is smart delivery, what Microsoft calls getting the best version of the game for whichever generation Xbox you have. You buy it once, you get it on everything. Sony might have a version of this, but they haven't said anything yet. Right as the Xbox One released, a few titles, Call of Duty Ghosts most notably, would let you pay $10 extra for the Xbox One version of the game when you bought the full-priced Xbox 360 version. That was a clever way to do things in 2013, but now smart delivery is making sure that you get whatever version is the best version within the system itself. Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be an early poster title for this feature, because if you bought the game for Xbox One and then you buy an Xbox Series X, you'll get the upgraded Xbox Series X version for no extra charge. CD Projekt Red even chided their competition for charging for these intergenerational upgrades, although it's clear that companies like 2K and Electronic Arts are going to find a way to make money on this when they've been charging a full extra $60 for their next-gen versions before. But an argument can be made that even though CD Projekt Red is investing a lot of money to make their game, they're not putting in the capex to rebuild Cyberpunk 2077 from scratch for the Series X and PlayStation 5, like 2K is for NBA 2K21, so they can speak from a position of strength. Not helping things is the fact that, aside from the fast flash storage in these new consoles, the Xbox Series X is really just a super powerful Xbox One, and the PlayStation 5 is really just a super powerful PlayStation 4. Companies aren't going kutaragi anymore and inventing entirely new hardware architectures. Both Sony and Microsoft are developing branches of x86-based AMD technology you find in everyday personal computers. Games have been looking pretty damn good for a decade at this point. So what are we really going to do with new console hardware now, and going forward, that really adds up in any meaningful way? Are you really going to spend $10 for that 2K sweat tech? So you buy the $70 next-gen version of NBA 2K21, which means you get a version that'll still play on your current-gen system, right? Like, say your Xbox Series X is in the living room and the Xbox One is in the bedroom. You get a version for both, right? Actually, no. Unlike all that smart delivery stuff that Microsoft is trying to do, you don't actually get both versions of the game unless you pay for that $100 Mamba Forever Edition. Even if you wanted to do a Ghosts thing and pay $70 for the current gen version and then a guaranteed next gen version when you buy that hardware, you can't. It doesn't exist. This is a really awkward step for 2K, who is clearly out for those dollars in a unilateral declaration with a single title that next-gen games are worth a sixth more money. Just freaking awkward, 2K. Finally, launching a game at $69.99 seems really silly when so many games are launching at a whole bunch of price points these days. There was a time when virtually all games, especially those in a controlled console environment, launched at the same MSRP, but those days are long dead or really close to dying. On the Xbox 360, we saw $5, $10, and $20 games with Xbox Live Arcade. With the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, we saw the creation of a far more open marketplace, kinda like Steam, where games could debut across the entire spectrum of prices. You can launch a $40 game on consoles today and not be judged as harshly as when every game landed on store shelves with a $50 price tag. It used to be that if you weren't launching at $50, people would think there was something wrong with your game. And then there's Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Now. You can now spend a much smaller amount of money on a monthly basis to get access to a lot of quality games in a way that has never existed before this generation. $70 games on next-gen systems are gonna stand out like Nintendo premium titles did decades ago, but there's a difference. Nintendo rarely released games, and they took advantage of the hardware in ways that third parties never would or never could. If big game publishers all rush to the $70 price point with their AAA releases, it's going to make the inevitable online service complaints even harder to swallow. The potential furor around microtransactions is going to be a lot more severe because it's big publishers with high-priced games that commit the worst microtransaction crimes. Like, how big of a fire are they looking to start here? Well, good luck with that, guys.
Woo! If I sounded a little sleepy there, it's because I recorded this when I was really sleepy. This one and actually the next video. I recorded them both at the same time, efficiency and all that. So let me know if you're planning on paying $69.99 for new games in the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X realm. Don't forget the conversation continues on Discord and Twitter and Facebook and Reddit. You see I'm mixing it up every single time. It's chaos here at the Nth Review. And if you liked this video, don't forget to, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Oh, and hey, see you next time.